Upon strolling through the meticulously kept grounds of an historic estate, or even the front gardens of numerous suburban residences across America today, you will likely encounter a robust vine gracefully scaling trellises. It fashions an impressive expanse of heart-shaped foliage adorned with vibrant, fire-engine red blossoms that entice scores of hummingbirds. For centuries, horticulturalists in the Western world have exclusively esteemed this plant as a decorative marvel. However, this perception is a misdirection. While we have been captivated by its blossoms, we have overlooked a biological powerhouse. This is not merely an attractive climbing plant. It represents one of the most ancient cultivated crops originating from the Americas. It yields beans substantial enough to fill your thumb, delivering a protein content comparable to beef. Furthermore, unlike the delicate beans found in your vegetable patch that succumb to the first frost, this particular plant conceals a secret beneath the earth. This is the narrative of the scarlet runner, revered by the Aztecs as the ayocatl, and how the pursuit of industrial efficiency has depleted our gardens of this vital sustenance. This plant was not a discovery by Europeans. Rather, it was developed by indigenous civilizations in the cool, moist highlands of Central America. In the mountainous regions of Oaxaca and Chiapas, dating back at least to 2000 BC, inhabitants cultivated the plant they referred to as the ayocatl. It formed the bedrock of the traditional Milpa agricultural system. Within this ancient practice of permaculture, corn provided the structural support, squash blanketed the soil to conserve moisture, and the ayocatl bean ascended towards the sky. It served as the critical protein component, fixing nitrogen in the soil to nourish the corn, while simultaneously offering a substantial protein-rich food source that harmonized with the carbohydrates derived from maize. It was a fundamental foodstuff for the Aztec Empire, esteemed not only for its abundant harvest, but also for its hardiness in the cool mountain air where other crops faltered. Upon their arrival, the Spanish recognized the caloric significance of the bean. By the 17th century, the plant had journeyed to England, likely introduced by the esteemed royal gardener, John Tradescant. Yet, upon reaching the British Isles, an unusual transformation occurred. The climate, cool and damp, proved ideal for the plant, and it flourished. However, the British aristocracy did not relegate it to their pantries. Instead, they incorporated it into their flower borders. The blossoms were so striking, so vividly crimson against the somber English sky, that the scarlet runner became a victim of its own aesthetic appeal. For nearly a century, it was cultivated in Europe almost exclusively as a symbol of status and an ornamental feature. While the affluent admired the vines from the windows of their parlors, it was the humble cottage gardeners, the working class, who eventually discovered that this pretty vine could sustain a family of 6. They found that the young green pods were delightful to eat, and the dried beans offered a savory and satisfying meal during the winter months. So, if this bean is larger, more resilient, and capable of perennial growth, why is it absent from your local supermarket? Why do we opt for the diminutive annual kidney bean or the stringless green bean instead? In the mid-20th century, American agriculture underwent a profound shift toward mechanization, with the overarching objective of minimizing human intervention in the harvesting process to reduce food costs. Engineers devised mechanical harvesters designed to traverse fields and detach pods in mere seconds. However, these machines possessed a specific limitation. They performed optimally on plants that were close to the ground, uniform in height, and grew upright. This led to the widespread adoption of bush varieties. Plant breeders took the common bean and systematically bred out its vining habit, creating dwarf cultivars like the Blue Lake bush bean, which grew to knee height, perfectly suited for mechanized cultivation. The scarlet runner bean, however, resisted this manipulation. It is a vine that naturally aspires to climb between 10 and 15 feet in height. Cultivating scarlet runners necessitates supporting structures, such as poles, wires, or corn stalks, and harvesting them typically requires manual labor to reach the elevated pods. Furthermore, there was a discernible shift in consumer preferences regarding texture. The scarlet runner bean possesses a thick, fibrous parchment layer within its pods that develops as the bean matures. This robust outer skin protects the large seeds within, and enables them to survive through the winter. To consume them as green beans, they must be picked while very young, or they must be strung, which involves removing the fibrous thread that runs along the seam. As the convenience-driven culture of the 1950s took hold, the consumer palate evolved. We began to demand stringless beans, varieties specifically bred to be tender and free of fibers even when fully grown. We traded the rich, robust flavor of the runner for the ease of a bean that required no preparatory work. Yet by allowing industrial logic to dictate our dietary choices, we not only forfeited a distinct flavor, but also relinquished a significant nutritional asset. To comprehend why the Aztecs depended so heavily on this plant, we must examine the empirical data. The scarlet runner bean is chemically and botanically distinct from the common green bean. Let us first consider the seed itself. When dried and shelled, scarlet runner beans are substantial, often measuring 1 inch in length. According to USDA nutrient data for mature seeds, these beans comprise approximately 21% to 24% protein by dry weight. 100 grams, roughly 3.5 ounces, of dried beans delivers approximately 24 grams of protein. This is directly comparable to a 3-ounce serving of beefsteak, which contains about 25 grams of protein. It is no wonder that these beans constituted the primary source of protein for millions of people in pre-Columbian Mexico. Beyond protein, they are exceptionally rich in minerals that are frequently deficient in modern diets. A 3.5-ounce serving provides nearly 35% of your daily recommended iron intake and is replete with folate and potassium. If you cultivate varieties with speckled purple or black seeds, you are also receiving a substantial dose of anthocyanins, the same potent antioxidants found in blueberries and blackberries, which have been associated with reduced inflammation and improved cardiovascular health. The plant also exhibits a unique enzyme profile contributing to its hardiness. Unlike common beans that are prone to rotting in cold soil, scarlet runners can germinate in soil temperatures as low as 50 degrees Fahrenheit, which is equivalent to 10 degrees Celsius. This characteristic makes them an ideal crop for transitional seasons, thriving in the cooler weather of spring and autumn, where standard green beans would fail. It is a plant that offers 3 distinct harvests: edible flowers with a taste reminiscent of nectar-sweetened peas, tender green pods for cooking, and large dried beans suitable for stews. So how can you reintroduce this remarkable plant? The scarlet runner necessitates a different approach than the conventional garden bean, both in cultivation and in preparation. Firstly, it is crucial to ascertain its geographical suitability. The scarlet runner is a perennial in USDA hardiness zones 7 through 11. If you reside in these milder climates, prune the vine back at the first significant freeze of autumn and leave the roots intact in the ground. They will overwinter and sprout anew in the spring. In colder regions, USDA zones 3 through 6, excavate the tuberous roots in the fall. Treat them precisely as you would dahlias, storing them in a cool, dark, frost-free location buried in peat moss. In the spring, plant the tubers to gain a substantial head start. Once the vines have begun to ascend your supports, and they require robust structures, as they can grow well over 12 feet, you will have 2 distinct harvesting periods. The initial period is for snap beans. Harvest the pods when they are young, flat, and typically less than 6 inches in length. At this stage, they are tender and free of strings. If you delay and the pod begins to swell, or feels rough to the touch, a fibrous string will develop along the seam. If you harvest during this intermediate stage, use a paring knife to carefully remove the string before cooking, much like your grandmother would have done. The second harvesting period is for shelling beans, and this is where the true nutritional bounty resides. Allow the pods to mature until they are large, purplish, and begin to dry on the vine. Within them, you will discover the enormous, beautiful seeds. Harvest these, shell them, and store them as dried beans. However, there is a critical safety caution that you must observe. Like many legumes, including the red kidney bean, scarlet runner beans contain a compound known as phytohemagglutinin. In their raw state, this lectin is toxic and can induce severe gastrointestinal distress, nausea, and vomiting. These beans cannot be consumed raw, and it is imperative not to simply place them in a slow cooker from their uncooked state, as gentle heat can actually exacerbate their toxicity. To prepare them safely, soak the dried beans overnight, discard the soaking water, and then vigorously boil them for at least 10 to 15 minutes before reducing the heat to a simmer. This high heat completely neutralizes the toxin, rendering the beans perfectly safe to consume. Once cooked, their texture undergoes a remarkable transformation. They become exceptionally creamy, rich, and savory, often resembling chestnuts more than a typical bean. You can procure seeds from heritage seed suppliers, such as Baker Creek Heirloom Seeds, Seed Savers Exchange, or Burpee. Look for classic varieties like Painted Lady or Magic Beanstalk. Just remember, cook them thoroughly. Provide them with something to climb, and they will sustain you for years. The scarlet runner bean compels us to reevaluate the fundamental structure of our food systems. It is time to remove this plant from the purely ornamental section of seed catalogs and reinstate it on our dinner plates. It serves as a powerful reminder that beauty and practicality need not be at odds. You can possess the most aesthetically pleasing vine in the neighborhood and enjoy a remarkably satisfying meal.